I should have never fixed her damn kitchen faucet. That's how it started, with rusted pipes and the smell of old coffee. I wasn't a plumber. Just a 24-year-old IT guy trying to stretch rent, working part-time maintenance at a property management office. But that day, I got assigned to Unit 14B. Her unit. Claudia. 44. Divorced. Technically my boss, she managed the building, signed my time sheets, once scolded me for forgetting to replace a hallway bulb. I thought she hated me. But she opened the door that afternoon like she'd been expecting someone else. Or maybe hoping for something more. The condo was immaculate, marble countertops, warm lemon scent, books stacked like furniture. She wore a soft gray tank top and loose black trousers, barefoot, hair twisted up messily like she tried but gave up halfway. Her toenails were painted red. I noticed that. I don't know why. She gestured toward the sink with a lazy wave, not even trying to hide the slight smirk tugging at her lips. "Try not to flood the place," she said. "The last guy nearly drowned my cat." I laughed, more nervous than amused. "I'll try not to kill any pets." She leaned against the wall while I got to work, arms crossed, sipping from a chipped mug that said, "World's Okayest Manager." Silence, except for the drip 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 of the faucet and the occasional creak of her shifting weight. But the air, it was thick. Like we were both waiting for someone else to speak first. Or leave. Or stay. I kept my eyes down, at least I thought I did. But then she said, "You always fidget when you're nervous." I froze, wrench mid-turn. Is it that obvious? Only when you're trying not to look at me. I should have laughed it off. But I didn't. I swallowed instead. Slowly stood upright and faced her. And for a second, neither of us said a word. Not a breath. Not a blink. Just the low hum of the fridge and that strange silence you only notice when someone's heart is beating louder than the room. Her eyes softened, like she regretted saying it. Or maybe she didn't. "You're done here?" she asked, voice suddenly low, steady. I nodded, though I hadn't checked the pipes. She walked closer, just a step, and reached behind me for the paper towel roll. Her arm brushed mine. Not accidental. Too slow. Too precise. I felt heat where she touched me, like a quiet fire had started in the middle of a cold kitchen. "Thanks for fixing it," she said, but she wasn't talking about the faucet. I opened my mouth, maybe to say, "You're welcome," or maybe something much, much dumber, when her phone rang on the counter. Loud. Sharp. She flinched. I jumped. She glanced at the screen and hesitated. Then silenced the call without answering. Her hand stayed on the paper towels. Mine stayed at my side, clenched. Finally, she stepped back, just a little. "You should go," she said. I did. But not before I looked back. And not before she looked too. That was the beginning. And the moment I knew I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about her, even after everything fell apart. I didn't expect her to remember my name. Not after the way I fumbled through that first day, forgetting where to file her reports, calling her "ma'am" like some high school intern. But now, standing in her living room as she paced in her robe, barefoot, wine glass in hand, she said my name like it meant something. "Eli," she said, not looking at me. "You don't have to wait here. I know the locksmith's late." I should have left right then. I should have taken me out. But I didn't. Her house was too quiet. Not in a peaceful way, in a haunted, heavy kind of way. Like someone had lived here once and then stopped. A cold mug on the coffee table, laundry half folded on a chair, a wedding photo tucked behind a candle like it was hiding. I noticed those things. She wasn't my boss tonight. She was just someone unraveling quietly, pretending to be fine. It's okay, I said, forcing a smile I didn't mean. I don't have anywhere else to be. That was true. My roommates were out partying, the city felt too big lately, and she felt oddly safer than anything else in my life. She finally looked at me. Tired eyes. No makeup. A smudge of mascara from earlier, maybe. She looked real. You're too young to be this patient, she said, sipping her wine. Boys your age would have left an hour ago. I didn't say anything. You don't talk much, she added, with a glance that lingered. I listen, I replied. That made her smile, not the charming kind she gave at meetings, but a softer, half-sad smile. Like I'd peeled something open without meaning to. You ever love someone, she said suddenly, who didn't see you anymore? That caught me off guard. I didn't know if it was about her husband. Or about me. I thought I did once, I said, picking my words carefully. She forgot my name a week after. She gave a small laugh. At least she had the decency to leave early. Her voice cracked a little at the end. Just slightly. I looked down, not wanting her to feel exposed. Outside, thunder rolled low and distant. Storm coming. She reached over to grab the remote, her fingers brushing mine. Neither of us moved. The air between us felt charged. Not sexual. Not yet. But emotional, like something fragile was tipping between us. I pulled my hand back first. But she didn't. You really don't have anywhere else to be, she asked again, quietly this time. Her voice didn't have authority. It had need. I should have answered right away. But I hesitated, not because I didn't know the answer. Because I did. And because I wasn't sure I could say it without changing everything. The storm had started without warning. Rain streaked down the tall windows, thunder murmuring in the distance, the kind that makes silence feel louder. She lit a candle, claiming the power might flicker. I think she just didn't want the overhead lights on. They were too honest. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, far, but not far enough. Her legs curled beneath her, wine glass perched on her knee. I could feel the heat of her skin even from a distance. Or maybe I just imagined it. I'm not usually like this, she said, swirling the wine without drinking. Letting someone in. Letting you in. Her voice was too soft, like she wasn't just talking about the house anymore. I swallowed hard. I can go if it's too much. She looked at me sharply. Do you want to? My breath caught. She set the glass down, leaned forward slightly, elbows on her thighs, hands clasped. I don't know how to be around you, she admitted. You remind me of who I was. And who I'm not anymore. It hit like a confession. But it wasn't the kind I expected. You're still her, I said. Maybe you just forgot. She turned toward me, the candlelight catching her face in profile, tired, beautiful, aching. Then the power flickered. Just once. Enough to make the moment feel cinematic. Unreal. She reached for her phone, probably out of habit. A man's name lit up the screen. Eric, husband. The phone rang twice. Then stopped. Neither of us spoke. She didn't silence it. Didn't explain. The silence between us stretched. I looked away first, forcing my attention to the candle. He coming home tonight? She hesitated. No. He doesn't live here anymore. But the contact name still said husband. I'm sorry, I muttered. Don't be, she said, a little too quickly. He was gone long before he left. Her voice cracked again. She blinked fast. I reached for her wine glass, meaning to hand it back, but my hand brushed hers instead. It wasn't accidental. Not really. We both lingered. It was nothing. It was everything. She didn't pull away. I saw the moment she let her guard down, just for a second. Her shoulders softened. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. Then quickly away. I stood up, heart pounding. I should go. Why? She asked. Because if I stayed, I wouldn't stop at just talking. Because I already didn't want to. I didn't answer. She rose too, slower, steadier. And in that candlelit hush, her hand touched my chest, not forcefully, just resting there. Like a thought she hadn't spoken yet. I shouldn't ask you to stay, she whispered. But you are, I whispered back. Neither of us moved. The rain kept falling. The phone lit up again. We didn't look at it. The door remained unopened. Whoever knocked had left, but their presence still lingered, like smoke after fire. He stood frozen, her hand still lightly resting against his. Neither of them acknowledged the touch, but neither pulled away either. The air between them was no longer just charged, it was suffocating. I should have never let it get this far, he said, his voice rough. You didn't, she replied softly. I did. He looked at her then, really looked. And for the first time, she wasn't the composed, flawless boss he had admired from afar. She looked human. Fragile. Scared. Wanting. She turned away, walking slowly to the kitchen, trying to hide the emotion rising in her throat. I used to think I had everything under control. The career. The marriage. My image. But it's all just noise now. He followed, stopping at the counter but keeping his distance. You still love him? He asked. She didn't answer right away. She stared down at her hands. He loves the version of me I pretend to be. The one that's always fine. Always strong. But the real me? She looked up. You've seen her. And you didn't run. I wanted to, he admitted. Every time I walked into your office and forgot what I was supposed to say because I was too focused on your smile. Every night I went home to my wife and felt like a liar. Every single time I told myself, just a few more weeks, and I'll quit this job, walk away, then why didn't you? His jaw clenched. Because walking away from you feels like tearing something out of me. That silence followed, the dangerous kind. The kind where everything unsaid hangs heavier than the words. She stepped closer. If you kissed me right now, would you hate yourself? Yes, he whispered. But I think I'd do it anyway. The second stretched. Her eyes searched his, waiting for him to make the decision she couldn't. But he stepped back. "I can't be the reason you break," he said. "You're not," she replied. "You're the only thing keeping me from shattering." He looked at her, torn open. This wasn't just lust. It was something deeper. A loneliness they both shared. A quiet desperation for someone to understand them without needing to be explained. Then, her phone buzzed again. A message. He could see the name. Nathan, still at the office. "Grab dinner without me." She didn't pick it up. She didn't even flinch. "Does he know?" he asked. She shook her head. "I don't think he sees me anymore." "Not really." His hand brushed hers again. This time, slower. Intentional. But he didn't hold it. Instead, he looked at her and said the one thing that made the silence unbearable. "What are we doing?" She didn't answer. She just looked at him. And didn't look away. She didn't look away. Even as the question hung in the air, "What are we doing?" she stared at him with a vulnerability that stripped away all the pretense. And then, the front door creaked open. She jolted. He stepped back instinctively. A voice called out from the hallway. "Amelia?" Her husband. She turned pale. He hadn't answered her call. Hadn't replied to her messages. And yet, here he was. "Upstairs," she called out, her voice tight, controlled. She turned to him, eyes wide. "Hide." He looked at her, torn. "What?" "Please. Just, go." He ducked into the hallway closet just seconds before Nathan's footsteps echoed up the stairs. She wiped at her face quickly and tried to slow her breathing. Then she walked to the landing to meet her husband. Nathan stood there in a button-down shirt, loosened tie, and that same absent expression he always wore these days. "Car died," he said flatly. "Had to Uber." "You should have called," she said. He shrugged. Didn't think it mattered. He walked past her into the room, loosening his shoes. "You okay?" he asked, not looking at her. She forced a smile. "Yeah. Just, working late." Then he looked up. "Someone else here?" She froze. He walked toward the kitchen. She prayed. He paused at the wine glasses, 2 of them on the counter. "Had company?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. Her mouth opened, but before she could lie, Nathan's eyes narrowed. "You know what's funny?" he said, picking up one of the glasses. "I saw your assistant today. The new guy. He came to pick up his jacket from the front desk." She blinked. "He didn't see me," Nathan continued. "But I saw him. Same cologne I smelled last week when I hugged you." She said nothing. He turned to her now. "Is there something I need to know, Amelia?" Before she could speak, her phone buzzed again, this time on the counter. An old photo lit up the screen. Her and the man. A picture from 5 years ago. Nathan saw it before she could hide it. "What is that?" he asked, stepping forward. Her breath caught. "That was, before I hired him. Before. I met him at a conference. A long time ago. Nothing happened. We never, you knew him before you made him your assistant?" "Yes. But I didn't plan it. He needed a job. He was, Nathan cut her off. So this wasn't an accident. You brought someone back into your life who you already had feelings for. No. I mean, yes, but not like that. Her voice trembled. I didn't know it would become this. Nathan stepped back, shaking his head. You didn't cheat on me with a stranger, Amelia. You fell back in love with someone you never stopped thinking about. The silence was brutal. Behind the closet door, the man closed his eyes, devastated. Nathan looked at her, this time with clarity, not confusion. I'm not going to scream, he said. But I'm not blind either. And then he walked out. He stepped out of the closet long after Nathan had gone. The hallway was quiet. Amelia stood by the window, arms crossed tightly, her eyes lost in the night. She didn't look at him when she spoke. You heard all of it, didn't you? He nodded, though she wasn't facing him. Yeah. Her voice cracked. I never meant for it to go this far. Silence again. Then she turned to face him, her eyes glassy, her face drained. I loved him, she said. Once. I think I still do, but not in the way I should. He didn't speak. He couldn't. He'd imagined 1,000 versions of this moment, some full of passion, some full of regret, but not this. Not this raw middle where love didn't fix anything, and choices still hurt. She walked toward him slowly, stopping just a few steps away. I don't know what this is, she whispered. What we are. But I know I felt something real again, something I hadn't felt in years. He swallowed. Me too. And that terrifies me. He looked at her, then reached out, just once, and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. It lingered there, the touch gentle, hesitant. She closed her eyes. I can't keep living in two worlds. You don't have to, he said softly. Just choose one. When she opened her eyes again, they were brimming with emotion. If I choose you, I lose everything I've built. My home. My name. My son's trust. He nodded slowly. And if you don't? She stepped closer, their foreheads almost touching now. Then I lose myself. He breathed her in, this woman who had somehow been a stranger and a soulmate all at once. Then he took her hands and stepped back, his voice low. I don't want to be the reason you destroy your life. Not like this. Tears slipped down her cheeks now. I need time, she whispered. I know. I needed you to know it wasn't just a distraction. You weren't just, she struggled for the word, a mistake. He smiled, bitter and soft. Neither were you. She leaned in then, not for a kiss, but to rest her head on his chest, just for a second. He held her there gently, one last time. Then he let go. No promises. No dramatic declarations. Just two people caught in something too big to hold, and too real to ignore. As he walked out the door, she stood in the hallway, still and trembling. And for the first time, she was truly alone, not because someone had left her, but because she had to decide who she was without them. It had been 3 months since that night. The house was quieter now. Nathan had taken a consulting job overseas, not because of her confession, but because they both knew it was time for space. For healing. For truth to settle into their bones. Amelia sat at the kitchen table, a coffee in hand, watching the sunrise spill over the countertop. The same place she had once kissed a man she never meant to love. Only this time, she was alone. And calm. Not empty, but different. She'd made a choice, not between two men, but between who she used to be and who she was becoming. The affair never turned into a scandal. Nathan never told anyone. There were no screaming matches, no thrown plates, no custody battles. Just a quiet unraveling of two people who had loved, but drifted. And then, the beginning of something new. Nathan called her last week. He told her he was dating again. She felt a surprising warmth in her chest, not jealousy. Relief. They had both outgrown the version of life they were clinging to. And as for him, the younger man who had stirred something awake in her, he never came back. No messages. No long, drawn-out goodbyes. But one afternoon, she found a letter tucked inside one of her old books, Pride and Prejudice, the same one she once teased him for never reading. You didn't ruin me. You reminded me I was still alive. Sometimes the best kind of love isn't the one that stays, it's the one that wakes you up. Jay. She smiled when she read it. Then she cried. Not because she missed him, but because she finally understood. What they had wasn't about forever, it was about a moment. A mirror. A chance to see herself again, not as a wife, or a mother, or a woman fading into routine, but as someone capable of feeling deeply, and choosing wisely. Life didn't go back to normal. It moved forward, slowly, messily, and honestly. Amelia went back to work. She started taking art classes on weekends. And every morning, she made coffee just for herself. Not because anyone else needed her, but because she needed herself. She wasn't perfect. She didn't pretend to be. But she was present. And that mattered more than perfection ever could. Speech Balloon, did you enjoy this story? Would you have made the same choices as Amelia? Headphone, what kind of stories do you want to hear next? Romantic, heartbreaking, forbidden, healing.